Hi there, my name's John Stevens, pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA, and welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary text, tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree. This Sunday is the 16th Sunday after Pentecost, and we're looking at most of the lessons, not really touching on the gospel lesson about the rich man and Lazarus, even though there is this whole idea of the rich man stepping over Lazarus, and I just almost ignoring him until the very end. I mean, the end, where there's that large chasm between the two, and so you could probably play with that a little bit in the direction I'm going with. But I'm pulled to the psalm, and I'm pulled to the second lesson. It all has to do with each of the lessons has to do with this idea of some people having more, some people having less, the abuse of that, and all this, not really in the direction of the children's sermon, but it has to, the haves and the have-nots. And I'm drawn to the psalm and the second lesson, or the second reading, because there's this feeling. My grandfather used to ask me a question all the time when I'd be going through seminary, and then my first call. He would ask me the question every time I would come to their place, still in Montana, would visit them Christmas time and things like that. And my grandpa, we called my grandparents Ma and Pa. Pa would always say to me, "John, are you happy? Because if you're not happy, change what you're doing." And it was really a time of self-reflection. It was like, oh, am I happy? Am I not coming across as happy? What makes me happy? And when I look at the psalm and also the second lesson, especially that first section, and not the whole root of all, money is the root of all evil and all that, but before that, about being content with what you have. And so maybe that question that begs to be asked, what makes you happy? And this idea that if I have more stuff, then I'll be happy. If I just got enough, then I'll be happy. And what we read in the text, and I read it in the psalm, where this idea that what really makes us content and what makes us joyful and what makes us happy is using what God has given us for the bettering of the stranger, for the bettering of the orphan, for the bettering of the widow. And those are the things, and we see that throughout all the studies, that generosity leads to more of a feeling of contentment and joy and happiness. So how to get that with the kids? Maybe the idea is you get something that you either have a lot of, maybe you take a whole thing of cookies, or you take stuffed animals, or you take out of your closet, you take 25 shirts that you have, if you have 25 shirts, I don't know. You take 10 shirts, you take whatever, you take something that you have a lot of, and you've got that sitting in a box, and then you've got over here on the side here, where it's, I don't know, a bowl or something that you're going to be moving one item into another, and you have maybe a sign on there that says happiness, and you grab one of the items and you pull it over and you drop it in there and go, now I'm happy. Wait a minute, I'm not really happy. Oh, 1 second, and you grab another one and you pull it over. Now I'm happy. And just the ridiculousness of it, that just getting one more thing, that's going to make me happy. One more video game, one more chocolate bar, this idea that one more isn't what makes us happy. Then perhaps, let's say you're playing with, you want to check with the reason I'm hesitating is I'm thinking about like having a package. I mentioned this last week. It's Halloween time. Dollar Tree has all kinds of candy stuff, so the possibility of having a couple of bags of candy, and where you end up sending the kids with the candy into the congregation to give away the candy, having stuff for the kids. Or maybe you grab a whole thing, you go to Costco and you get a thing of fruit snacks, and the kids go out and hand out the fruit snacks and to give them to the people that are gathered there. This idea of that being generous with what we've been given, handing that out. I don't know, if you can afford it, give the kids all $1 and go have the kids give the dollars away. Or this idea that acting generously, as my computer chimes in and says, you should probably wrap this up. It was just starting up again. Anyway, but that's where I'm really focused on this week, is this idea of what makes me happy, what brings us beyond just being content. And so that's where I'm focusing it on, and I'm still, as you can tell, the wheels are still turning, but I'm going in that direction about talking about generosity, and about talking about how do we, if we believe that what God gives us is, if we're called to give that away, if we're called to use that for the bettering of the world. I'm hoping this can be a springboard for your own thinking around your children's sermon. And I'm still thinking about the gospel lesson, but I'm really, really pulled towards that first part of the second reading about being content, and the lines in the psalm about helping the orphan and helping the outcast. And I'm gonna pull up. I'm not wasting time on purpose here. I love this phrase on the psalm. I'm pulling up the psalm here. Happy are those whose help is the God of Jacob, whose hope is in their Lord, who made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, who executes justice for the oppressed, who gives food to the hungry. The Lord sets the prisoner free. The Lord opens the eyes of the blind. The Lord lifts those who are bowed down. The Lord lifts up the righteous. The Lord watches over the strangers. He upholds the orphan and the widow. And maybe that phrase, happy is, and that just really kind of, that's the direction. So anyway, I'm hoping this can be a springboard for your thinking. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for sticking with me. And as always, I hope you have a fantastic week.